I'm going to talk about something here this morning that I've never touched on before, and that is when loading especially heavier caliber handgun ammunition, it's very important that you have a considerable crimp to hold the bullet in place. Now there's several reasons why this bullet should be crimped. The one being so it won't migrate out of the case. There's also various aspects to do with these sort of things. There are dies that are sold to basically taper crimp a bullet. That's not what we're particularly discussing here. What I'm talking about is the rolled taper crimp. And so to have this uniform, you also need to have the overall case length uniform. So when you set the crimp die in relationship to the bullet and to do with a ring on the bullet, a crimp groove, whatever it might happen to be, a cantilever groove or whatever it might happen to be, this fixture and whatnot, I'm just simply have explained it, that this was a method arrived at by an engineer or engineers at the time that was overseeing this aspect at Spear to do with the ammunition that they were loading and selling, factory ammunition that they're loading and selling. I'm going to talk about accuracy here today, and I'm going to talk about it from the aspect of ammunition. I'm going to start talking about factory ammunition. There's been very, very, very few instances over time that I use any factory ammunition. One of the reasons being is because I understand what you're getting for your dollar in factory ammunition. Now, just because we've got some of the latest hype to sell ammunition, select, match, trophy grade, whatever you want to call it, ammunition, you see, all that means is this ammunition is loaded with quality components that's put together quality-wise from that standpoint. But what you don't understand absolutely at all, and I get this just absolutely repeatedly in an email, a guy will email me, well, I've fired 7 different brands of factory ammunition in my .06 or my .300 Winchester or whatever, and I can't get any reasonable kind of accuracy at all. 2.5 to 4 inch accuracy. There's got to be something wrong with the barrel. Nope, folks. It probably isn't your barrel. It's the factory ammunition. And I'm going to explain to you why. Somewhere around probably 47, 48 years ago, the various different publishers of reloading manuals, Spear, Sierra, Hornady, and so forth, because those at that time were our main reloading manuals, they all kind of got their heads together, and the maximum listed charges in the reloading manuals were limited to around 50 to 52,000 pounds of pressure at the time. Now that's pretty low pressure. You take that cartridge and load it up to near that pressure. Let's just say a 270 Winchester. 270 Winchester happens to be one of the most reliable, a lot of people's favorites, a good all-around, good go-to cartridge for hunting most of our game. I'm going to talk about rifle actions. I seem to get a number of inquiries if I can barrel Mauser action or an Enfield action or something like this. And I'm going to tell you where this is coming from. I'm one of the very few people left that over my lifetime I have barreled so many different brands, models, types of actions that it'd take a long time to explain it. We have a situation now, and have had for quite some time, where it appears that nobody is capable of barreling something other than a Remington or a Remington clone type action. They have been fed the hype that this is the only action. Well, I'm sorry. Actions were made hundreds of years before some of these other actions. I'm not discounting those particular actions. I'm not running the actions down. I want you to understand what I'm saying and listen to what I'm saying. I build a line of custom rifles around newly produced custom type actions. But I also build rifles around many, many, many other actions. Just to name a few: Mausers, Enfields, Springfields, Weatherbys. There's a tremendous amount to be talked about here. Now, one of the things that's never talked about is the support to the cartridge case head. The actions that provide the most support to the cartridge case head, further back onto the case and more of it, in relationship to the extractor groove, are the pre-64 current model 70 actions, our Mauser actions, our Enfield actions, and so forth. They provide more support to the case head than a lot of these newer, modern Remington clone type actions. And if you don't believe me, just chamber a barrel to all these different actions in one of our Magnum calibers and see how deep from the end of the breech of the barrel down to the lip of the belt portion in the chamber where it accepts the cartridge case. It's very, very evident. You can see that there's more support to the head of the case. The Mauser action is the leading action for support. It was designed in a way by choice to give a tremendous amount of support. I understand that there's a lot of people out here trying to bet a rifle. Well, quite simply put, I've been betting rifles for over 60 years. And one of the aspects that I have followed all along, because right from the very get-go, I knew what it was all about, the action has to set level without any binding in the stock when it's bedded. Now, of course, you've got to put screws through the trigger guard and so forth. But the fact of the matter, those screws, it's necessary to have them to line things up, so things aren't out of line when you do it. Now, you don't over tighten anything. The forward screw needs to be snug down, and the rearward screw snug down, but not tight. This basically eliminates any binding and whatnot. It'll dry to that position. Now, I use basically the rub-on type of release agent from Brownells. I've used this for many years, and I put 2 coats on everything that needs release agent on it. I'm going to talk about the 7mm Backcountry from Federal. Now, there's already been several articles written on this. Up to a point, the article's okay. But what we've had happen over a lot of years is the major meat, the information that should be in the article is not there. And this is what I'm going to talk about. The reason I'm going to talk about this, not because I've shot a 7mm backcountry, or that I have any experience with it, but I have experience in the cartridge situation, having chambered thousands of rifles for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of different chamberings and shot these guns. I know what it's all about. Now, some of the misinformation, the hype to try and sell this is, even though this cartridge runs at about 80,000 pounds of pressure compared to 60-some thousand pounds, maybe 65 or maybe 50,000 pounds pressure, depending on what it is, that it's not any harder on the barrel, and the barrel lasts just as long as one that is loaded at 65 or 50,000. This is nothing but nonsense. It's a total lie. Any situation where you've got a considerable amount of pressure builds a lot of heat in the throat and in the barrel, and the wear accelerates. The barrel cannot last as long